Doctor Who Series 11 Episode 4, Arachnids in the UK. It was intense, it was weird, we had some like callbacks to their childhood and Yaz's mum. Let's talk about it, guys. We got a lot to talk about in this episode and some very controversial thoughts as well. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Planet Mark and hit a bell notification to be told of the next great upload. Comment in the description box down below as well, tell me what you thought of this episode, and of course I'm going to be giving it my very own personal rating. We've already got the first 3 episodes up on Planet Mark already if you want to go check them out as well and see what you think of my opinions. But anyway, let's just start. Okay, so the beginning was very confusing. We had some American speaking guy, and he seemed like it's a bigger deal. We weren't really sure whether he was in it or whether it was not. It was very confusing. Normally by the beginning you're like, oh, this is something to really be interested in, and I didn't really get that from just the beginning. It wasn't that enticing. I don't really know who the characters were. He seemed like he's a bigger deal. He spoke about 2020, but then they were in the UK, so that was very confused. I've not really been that confused at the beginning of an episode in quite a while. And then the Doctor, Yaz, Graham and Ryan come back in the UK, and the Doctor actually managed to do a good job for once and getting them back on time within half an hour. Like I said, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they can never top the first time when Rose comes back and it's like a year later, and that intensity, that big boom boom, that wasn't even the main part. It was just another layer. They're not really doing that this time, or pretty much in quite a while, which I suppose it just goes down to, I wouldn't say sloppy writing, but really not as good depth. It's more just about the actual, means to an end, as opposed to actual character depth and like twists and turns. So anyway, Yaz talks about how she's now got signal, so obviously not doing the whole jiggery pokery with the phones thing and being able to speak to anybody at any time thing anymore. They just got rid of that, or it was never mentioned. And the Doctor did that thing where she's like, okay, yep, you're home, that's the end of it, and you're going back, and we'll know that they're not going to. So it's just, again, it just a bit repetitive. They could be doing something different, maybe just not have that bit, because it is annoying. There's no need for that anymore. Graham goes off back to his house, and Yaz, Ryan and the Doctor go off to have a cup of tea at Yaz's. Firstly, there's 2 things of this. Firstly, it's nice that we're finally getting a look into Yaz. I was really hoping for a big Yaz arc in this bit, going to see like the kind of people that she lives with and how that really affects her, and just having some kind of bigger, deeper backstory for her. And secondly, the Doctor was excited about having a cup of tea, and normally the Doctor never does anything like that. He's never done any kind of domestics or anything like that. It's just not very Doctor Who-ish. I don't know whether that's the Doctor moving on, or just the way that Jodie Whittaker is portraying the Doctor, just writing is not very clear, but either way, it goes against the fundamentals of who the Doctor is, which is a bit annoying, like a bit of a loner. Doesn't really like doing that kind of stuff, and the Doctor just seems to be hanging around a bit longer. I mean, he did a little bit of Peter Capaldi, but not in this kind of way. Then we get to Yaz's place, and it becomes very apparent very quickly that she lives with some complete and utter douchebags. But they go on about conspiracies, and you're like, maybe is that what this episode's going to be about, a conspiracy, or what kind of alien is it going to be this week? But yeah, I think that's the feeling you're supposed to get, is like they're supposed to drive you mad, kind of like they drove Yaz mad. I mean, I like the way that we know that Yaz and Ryan are at the exact same age, as they're in the same year at school, and they pretty much lived near each other, like practically neighbours, but they never actually really met unless it was for the Doctor, which kind of leads me to believe maybe that's another thing. They've been so close, they've kind of knew each other for their whole lives, but not really known each other properly, although they've actually been in quite close proximity. Maybe that is one of the things. Maybe that's one of the overarching season things. Like, maybe is there a reason for that? They didn't really go into it. I mean, it is hard to kind of pinpoint exactly how old Yaz and Ryan are, but I suppose it's supposed to be one of those like general things, like just so it's less constricting on people. It's more broad. I think they're supposed to be in their late teens, early 20s. I mean, she's like a police officer, so it seems like maybe she's pushing like maybe like the 25. route, but certainly less than 30s. So it's kind of one of those things, it's like a general thing, just more as an audience relationship thing, how an audience relates to those characters. Then, during the meantime, we're having Graham having flashbacks of Grace, which was kind of touching because we know he was having some issues with like Grace, and he kind of opened up about it before, and he opens at it like during the end, which I'll explain a bit later, but it's kind of like letting you know that he is actually still having some thoughts. And normally in Doctor Who, when there's a death, they don't normally drag it out this long. It's like normally there's a death or somebody does, or someone close dies, or other people, they just seem to get on with it very, very quickly, and that is, now it's nice to actually see that it's actually being, it's actually humanising the situation, that he had lost her, and it was sad for him, and he's still trying to get over it, and then he realised there's some giant spiders living in his loft. And then the Doctor breaks into Anna's house because the other woman tells her to break into her house, and we found that Anna has her face cobwebbed, which I suppose they're really going to be playing up to the whole spider fear, the arachnophobia in this episode. And really, I thought, did anybody else think this at first, that it was a callback to the Christmas 2008 episode when it was those alien spider thingies? Maybe it was them returning. Probably, I thought it would be a better idea to have them coming back as opposed to what actually turns out being. But yeah, so either way, the action was a lot quicker, like the build-up was a lot quicker. Normally I was saying, oh, the build-up takes ages to happen in this series of Doctor Who, but no, this one was really quick, and that's why I liked it. It's really like fast-paced, pretty much for the entire episode. It's very little like talking throughout the bits, but anyway, yeah. Then there's this little bit where we see the Doctor getting angry again. The Doctor does get a little bit angry at like the businessman in like a lot of like, and other people as well in this episode, but they just need to brush over it, and that's it. They don't really make a big point of it or make the Doctor being actually properly serious, because it's very quickly, it's like, I know there's a really quick, oh no, they shouldn't be doing that, no, we don't do that, and then it's straight back to the Doctor being normal Doctor. And it was just, why aren't you expanding on that? Why aren't you really going into depth about that? Give the Doctor more depth. That's what I want. We're 4 episodes in now. We really want some depth, and we're just not getting that. It's like getting tiny little hints. Was like, yes, are you going to go into this? No, we're not. I suppose maybe again they're still trying to like work on the other characters, and like they've got so many other they've got 4 people to really focus on, and really, it's only really Ryan they've done a good job on so far. Graham, we're getting a little bit more, we're actually getting more depth, but like apart from the whole Grace thing, is there gonna be more to him than just like trying to get over Grace, or how is he gonna do that? But Yaz, still I'm having big issues with Yaz. Why are they not going into her arc? Why are they just not doing anything with her? It seems like they wasted a lot of what Yaz's potential could be. I mean, like her mum as well, just looking at her mum was like that, she just annoyed me. She's one of those characters which was just there for this. I mean, why, at this point you're thinking, why is her mum there? It's no point, she's not really adding anything to the story. It could have been anywhere else. It's just why? And then there's this little clip where we see Frankie trying to like film while she's walking through the tunnels, trying to get the spiders, and then Frankie gets killed and eaten. And at this point, you're kind of thinking, is the hotel owner or the businessman, is he in on it? Is he knowing a bit more than he is letting on? I mean, he talks about these scheduled bathroom breaks. Not really sure what is that supposed to be a reference to something, or that he's really busy? If anything, it just was more confusing than funny or anything else. What I thought it might have been was he was going for this break because he knew the spider was going to come in, then they were going to go in, the spider was going to come out the wall and attack the companions, but it didn't. It attacked him, and it was just, why? It was just so confusing. It's either, get some clarity on that bit, or just don't have it in at all. Just don't say that at all. It just seemed stupid. I suppose also at this point it's worth saying that they've obviously moved the majority of like the location to Yorkshire as opposed to London. Maybe this is supposed to be like more of like a countryside version of England as opposed to like the big capital and all like the big buildings. Not really sure what else they can do with this, but anyway, that's just another thing worth noting. It's not really good or bad. And then we hear something like climbing up the drain or coming from the drain, and it turns out it's a big spider, and then the business guy gets attacked. So at this point you kind of know that he's not actually in on it, but he's certainly not in control. He certainly didn't seem like he's the kind of person that was in control of them. He was their leader. I get it. And it kind of makes you think, okay, well, where's the alien? Because Doctor Who has this big, long running history of everything, every single thing. It's not mythical, it can't be explained with science or anything. It has to be aliens. You've got mermaids, aliens, anything, aliens. Even the spiders before, aliens.
I didn't know that spiders can keep growing until they die. I am now terrified. Like, what the hell?
That is pretty scary.
Like, if, like, those tiny little spiders didn't die, they would just keep growing.
I'm never saving a spider ever again.
What?
That's terrifying. Afterwards, we get this awkward exchange between Ryan and Graham meeting up with the main business guy. I keep forgetting his name, but we're going to call him Big Business Boss Man. And they seem to know who he is, like kind of leading on that the characters know more than we do, kind of letting on maybe, you know, that he is kind of in on it, but at the same time. And I'm just going to say now, it didn't seem like the characters for the majority of the episodes were really that funny, apart from the one Ed Sheeran joke where the Doctor doesn't know who this guy is. And, you know, like, Doctor Who's supposed to be all this, like, they were saying, oh, my history is absolutely perfect, I'm supposed to know everything. And if this guy is running for president, I'm guessing he's not successful, because the Doctor doesn't really know who they are. Obviously, the Doctor can't know everything, but still, like, the Ed Sheeran joke, the whole, like, that kind of, like, back and forth was pretty funny, and that's probably the best bit of the entire episode. Another thing, though, like, I forgot to say before, the Doctor did say this one comment which really kind of annoyed me. The Doctor was saying, like, just about when she was like at Yaz's, saying, oh, well, you know, I'm still trying to figure things out. But no, you're not trying to still figure things out. It's just like 4 episodes in. The regeneration episode was 3 episodes ago. You can't still be trying to work stuff out. You're done. Just go. You should be fine. You should be there now. And then we have this awkward exchange with the Doctor and Yaz's mum, and her asking, who are you? And like really probing into asking all these questions, and you just don't really get the urgency of there's some kind of like, what's her reason for actually asking? Why is she not just one of Yaz's friends? I mean, you know, it doesn't look out of place for Yaz to be friends with someone that looks like Jodie Whittaker. Why is that such a big deal with her? I mean, it's not like the Doctor's an old man anymore. That, you know, before that could be a bit creepy, going into like a box and staying out for ages with this old man, but it's not like that anymore. It's not Peter Capaldi anymore. Or even like when it was back in season 1, Jackie, like Rose's mum, you really got a big urgency. You really got a big sense of like her attitude and like who she was and like how that she was feeling. You got none of that from Yaz's mum. So what was the point in her being there? I mean, we do get this part of the episode when they say that the spiders, you know, everything just wants to come back home. That's why the spiders were like following Anna, like using the pheromones, and that's kind of like the point of the episode they're trying to make, is that everyone comes back home, even just for a little bit. They always come back home, but they could have done so much more. That's what the one thing that's sad about this episode. It was wasted. A lot of the creativity, a lot of the depth as well, a lot of the story arcs of the characters was lost. Then we go down into the mines, and it turns out that the businessman actually does know more than he's letting on, because the JLR company have been taking the waste and putting it underneath the hotels and like trying to cut corners, and have scooped up some of the arachnid like laboratory place and just stuck it down there, and just like methane and all kind of toxins. And this is kind of where Doctor Who got very preachy. Like, it gets like quite a few times it was getting preachy and like, you know, trying to be like all political and things like that, and it's very BBC to be doing this annoying kind of thing. It's like trying, oh yeah, well you should be doing all of that. There's better ways of doing it, and this was not one of those times, and it was not done very well at all. I mean, one thing I'm just going to say is, like, just before this episode, it was quite ironic. We did watch the episode of The Simpsons with, like, the garbage man, and they put it, like, underneath Springfield. That was hilarious. But at the same time, that didn't seem preachy. That's just, like, a good way of, like, comparison. The Simpsons episode didn't seem preachy or anything like that, but it still made a good point. But this it tried to do the exact same kind of thing, but it was just bad. Anyway, so it turns out it's not an aliens. There's no aliens this week. It's just spiders in toxic waste. I suppose that's what the writing is now. It's more about realistic, kind of like things that might possibly happen, that could happen. Like, you're just more realism and like just making it more reality as opposed to sci-fi. I suppose I like the idea of all they did was expand the lifespan of the spiders, and you know, the toxic waste make them bigger, and then them having babies and huge spiders, and they're living for ages. I suppose that was a nice touch. Again, sometimes it is a bit annoying when Doctor Who's like every explanation is aliens. I was like, it's just an alien, it's just an easy way out of it. And this, they actually kind of did have to make some kind of effort into thinking, you know, like spiders, like a spider lab and the toxic waste as opposed to aliens. And then we get to kind of the emotional part of the episode. And again, we get like a more Ryan arc. I mean, this is supposed to be a Yaz episode. Where's the Yaz arc? But anyway, it was nice, the bit like Ryan like tells Graham that he read the letter from his dad saying he used to be with his real family, as opposed to him trying to say that Graham's not his actual family. He's like, no, you are my real family. That was a nice kind of touch. I'm not sure how, you know, how it needed to be, because you kind of got that thought of like that Ryan did actually care for Graham. He really liked him, thought of his own family. But it was nice to actually just have that like really touching moment and kind of like showing you like his dad, maybe, you know, maybe there's more to that than we need. Like, will his dad like come back in another episode? Will we see something like that? I don't know, but it would be nice to see. Then they look up and there's the big massive mummy spider the size of a large van, which is, ugh. I mean, they're really playing towards that arachnophobia, spider fear. Again, that's pretty much, if you got rid of all the spiders, there would be no other kind of like scariness about this episode. Which was, you know, they're really just like, it's a very one-dimensional episode. And they try to make the hotel its web, and they were like the flies, but that was about it. It just seemed like it's a very like quickly written episode. I suppose like this was like, normally they would have like, you know, that this would be a two-parter. I mean, like in the old series of Doctor Who, they have the beginning episode, and then they have the future episode, then have an episode of the past, and then they would have like a big two-parter when it all comes back, when they come back to the present day, and you know, it hits the fans, and you know, it really brings back home. And that's why I think that's where they were missing on this episode. They really should have fleshed this one out. I mean, they've got less episodes, so they're probably not doing as many two-parters this time. But if they're doing any at all, that is, probably could have got a really good backstory and actually some emotional bits as well as like spiders. The spiders weren't really the problem. The fact that it was just seemed rushed over and there wasn't really any depth apart from like some kind of writing of the scary spiders, but that was it. Really, that's what I would have thought this would have been a two-part episode, and I would have liked it to have been a two-parter. Anyway, so just back to the characters as a whole. Then there's like, I forget her name, Anna's workmate. She's asking all the right questions, she's putting all the right things together. Like, she's a better companion than Yaz. She's got more backbone, she's got more attitude than her. Why is she not a companion? She was so much better in this one episode than Yaz has been for the entire series at this point, that is. Then we get to another really political part of this episode. This year they're being really political. I mean, it's just the BBC trying to push their political agenda onto Doctor Who, but the American guy says, just shoot him like a normal person. It says like later on, it's like the fire and the fury, like when he shoots the arachnid later on. But it's like, Doctor Who and politics shouldn't be together. It shouldn't be like one of those times that we have like, you know, it should just be good storytelling, good emotional storytelling. We don't need politics rammed down our throat. As annoying as well, we can't get away from a Trump joke even in Doctor Who. Again, it doesn't need to be political. You watch Doctor Who for escapism, to escape the real world. You don't want the real world rammed down your throat, and that's what's really, that's probably the biggest thing that I had wrong with this episode, was how like it was trying to be political. It had like the gritty, you know, the whole recycling thing before, not just ramming down your waist, not being done very well. Then this whole like this political agenda. I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm not saying that it was wrong, you know, I'm not saying it's like right or wrong or anything like that. It just didn't need to be here. And then Ryan like comes up with this idea of like using the sound of like the grime station like to attract, because spiders use the vibrations to get into the ballroom, and they're going to figure out what to do then. And then we come up with like probably another really good line from Graham. He's like, can you believe that they're moving towards that music? Because like Stormzy, he obviously doesn't like that kind of music, which, you know, I like the song, but I thought that I liked Graham's line better. And then we kind of get to the ending of the episode, and it was like, well, it was very lazily done. I mean, the mummy arachnid gets shot and then dies, and they have this big debate saying, well, what, are we just going to suffocate her? Or, you know, the rest of them in the panic room, let them die a humane death. How is letting someone starve to death? How is that humane? That's long, that's prolonged. Surely I'm not the only person that thinks just blowing them up would have been a lot more humane, or actually trying to solve what was wrong with them, or go like the Doctor getting the TARDIS, you know, flying them away or something like that. There's so many things they could have done that, and letting them starve to death, that was the most humane thing they could have done. No, that's just lazy writing. That's like, why? You can't be bothered to think of an actual ending to this episode, so you just, okay, we'll just lock them in there and be done. We'll just walk away. Once if someone else goes in there, once if they open it again, what are they gonna do? Like, what's gonna happen to this businessman? Why? It just seems like all these other things that they just haven't thought about. It was just very open-ended. This one was kind of thinking that this would have been better as a two-parter, because then we could properly expand on that and properly try to get rid of them instead of just trapping them and hoping they somehow die. But if these are spiders which have been like covered in toxic waste, they're gonna live for a lot longer anyway. I think the whole point of this episode was really maybe, instead of really the Doctor asking them, like, do you want to like come on, maybe it's just like saying, you know, have a proper goodbye to your family, then like come, you know, come with me, and like, because we're a team now. And again, blah blah blah, there's like, oh yeah, do you really want to come with me? And then Graham just says, you know, it's easy, which is a really nice humanistic thing and like realistic thing for them to say. It's like, he just opens up and says, you know, it's easier to, you know, move on from Grace because when there's less things around him that reminds me like him of her, him of Grace. But yeah, that's just a nice touch, you know, like, it's like he actually has a reason to come along, as opposed to, well, I just want to come along just for like a ride or just for fun. He actually has a reason. That's a really nice, good art. It's probably the biggest art we've had for any of the characters, especially in the Yaz episode as well. Families, and it's just, why? Again, we've got Ryan with like getting slowly more of an arc for him. Graham, we've got that bit of him, but is there going to be more depth to him? I don't know. And Yaz, pretty much non-existent at this point. I still don't know, did they actually give Yaz and her sister and her dad a name? As opposed to Conspiracy Man and Horrible Sister Woman. So now we come to the rating of, I always give my opinion, I always rate it out of 10. I've already given my ratings for the other episodes I've watched so far, and really this episode with so many big plot holes, but I still wouldn't have said it was a bad episode, right? Get rid of all the bad stuff, there's still a good, decent episode. I just don't think it was long enough, which is annoying as well. It could have been a two-part, and I thought that it would be better if it was. And was the glaring plot holes, I'm going to put this straight in the middle. A 5 out of 10. So not bad, not a terrible episode. I would still probably watch it again if it's on. I didn't hate the episode, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's not good. It's not nearly as good as the caliber of last week's. Not close. But anyway, it's just my opinion. What did you think? You might be thinking, oh, no, definitely don't agree with that. And tell me in the comments section below. But before you do, make sure you subscribe to Planet Mark and hit that bell notification to be told of the next great upload. Share and like this video. We here every Sunday straight after the episode airs to give my Sunday night Doctor Who review. So follow us on Twitter at PlanetMarkVlog or Facebook.com/PlanetMarkVlog. See you next time, guys. Bye 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 bye.